Alright, welcome back into the garden. Great Lakes Bonsai, another spring update series video here for you. And it's not on this tree. This is a green ash collected a couple years ago that is absolutely exploding after a repot and root prune. I don't have a video for this one, but I'll show you a couple of pictures real quick. These aren't great bonsai candidates. They've got leaves that don't reduce that great, so you have to make a really big bonsai tree for it to look in proportion. They also have compound leaves and have coarse branching, but I really like it. I like the trunk, I like that it was collected, and I'm curious what this might turn into long term. So I'm gonna keep messing with it. But this video, I digress, is part of a series that we've had working on repots, and this one's no different, a Trident maple that we actually made air layer because it's responded so well this year. So let's get into that right now. Back into the garage in April. We've been sitting in this garage for hours, just working on trees. I hope to bring you maybe 10% of those updates, but I'll have you know that most every night I'm in here working on a tree. This Trident came to us last spring. Last year what we did with it was we just did like a maybe half reduction in the root system, maybe only 60%. It had plenty of fine roots, and we put it into this 3-gallon pot that has served it well for 1 year. You can see it's actually hitting my light up here because it's so darn tall. But the plan for this tree today is to pot it up in an Anderson flat. Compared to this pot, we're going to have a lot more surface area and obviously a lot less depth, but that will drive towards a shallow root base eventually for this Trident. And then we're also going to do the ebihara method, which is a method that was developed by this man named Ebihara over in Japan, with maple roots. And basically what he does is he takes a board and he screws the tree into the board. So we're going to be shaving this tree's root system flat and actually drilling one screw up through this board into the trunk to secure it. So we secure the board to the bottom of the root base, and then the idea is that those roots will then spread out along that horizontal root base and create what's a very desirable nabari. It's a pain if I've got limbs coming out in my face every time I try and lift the thing out of its bed or move it to a different location. So just bearing that in mind, we went ahead and reduced quite a bit here. We're going to clean up this chop site because I literally just cut this chunk off. And then once we've done that, we'll go ahead and dive into the root system. But for right now, the pruning is completed on this tree. I don't think I want to take any more back right now, and we need to dive into the repot. Okay, so after getting the tree out of the pot, we note a lot of fine roots up top and a couple of larger ones that were starting to circle at the bottom of the pot. Also noting here a pre-ebihara method that I used, which is actually using CDs on the bottom of the root base to help and keep it shallow. And what that did for us here is cleared a little bit of a runway and visibility into the taproot, which I previously had cut last year during our root reduction. You see it there in the middle, and that will be where we are going to secure the board to the bottom of the tree. So those CDs did their job in holding back the roots in that area. You can see it's pretty much bare and ready to be screwed into with the board. So after some work and fiddling around, we did get the tree tied to the board itself. You'll note the screw here on the bottom. It's about a 1 1/4 inch length screw, and that went right into the taproot as I mentioned. So now we're ready to get this tree into the Anderson flat itself after we trim up these roots a little bit. And we want to make sure and basically follow the outline of the board itself. And before doing so, of course, we want to keep those roots nice and moist. So I do occasionally take the sprayer and re-soak the roots, because if you have them out of the pot for more than, say, a half hour, you have to start to be a little bit concerned. So you can see before it goes into the pot here, it looks great. You can see the potential of the nabari there on that corner. And now the work begins of actually securing the board to the pot, which is very, very tricky. I drilled holes on each corner of the board itself and then used wire to go through the bottom of the pot to connect the board. And that helps make sure that it's nice and secure. We start to add soil, gradually working our way through, and eventually, as we add more soil, we want to make sure and get that chopstick involved to reduce air pockets and make sure that it's a tight fit in this pot for this tree. So right off the bat, you notice this isn't moving much when I'm shaking it, and that means I don't need to use guy wires, right? I drilled a couple of holes into the sides of the pot in case I needed to secure it further, but that pot being secured to the bottom and then the tree literally being screwed into the board itself means that this tree is not moving much, so we're good on that front. The planting angle I have changed. If you imagine with me that this chopstick was the planting angle previously, here's vertical. I had it at about this rate right here, and I've increased it, as you see, even more to make it more dramatic. I want this to thicken up. We're at about 1.5 inches above the Nabari here. I'd like it to be more like 4 inches, so I'd like it to double roughly. That's going to take probably 2 to 4 years to do so. And once the trunk is about 80% of what we want our final girth to be, we'll go ahead and make that chop and start training it out. Alright guys, another tree that took 2+ hours to work on. For our better trees, it's absolutely worth it. I am thinking about air layering this because it's responded so well. The first flush is actually hardening off or lignifying right now, and that's a good time to go ahead and do an air layer. So I'm thinking about up in this spot right here, actually taking from above my hand up into a new tree. So I might post a video about that process and whether or not I'm successful doing it. Appalachian Bonsai does a really nice job with air layering videos. I would check him out if you haven't already. If you have any comments on different approaches you'd like to see, love to hear from you. Like and subscribe because there's definitely more to come here on Great Lakes Bonsai. And thanks for joining as always. Cheers.